Her alien wedding night was meant to shatter men. The human lasted till dawn. The stars outside the observation deck shimmered like scattered jewels across the void. Captain Alex Carter stood with his hands behind his back, staring at the endless expanse of space. He had traveled through countless systems, survived meteor storms, and negotiated with alien traders who could crush planets with a thought. But tonight, he faced a challenge unlike any other. He was aboard the Starlight Voyager, temporarily docked at the Zyran capital, a planet of towering crystalline cities and energy fields that danced across the sky. Alex had been chosen, almost at random, to attend an event that no human had survived before, the ceremonial wedding night of Queen Liara, the ruler of the Zyran Empire. It was not a normal wedding. Humans were not part of Zyran society in any real way, yet somehow Alex had been selected to serve as an honor guest. According to Zyran custom, men who attended this ceremony were subjected to a night-long test of endurance, intelligence, and composure. The legends told that no human had ever lasted until dawn. The council had expected him to fail, and perhaps in some ways he expected it too. Alex adjusted his uniform and let out a deep breath. "All right, Carter," he muttered to himself. "Let's see if humans are really worth the hype." The doors to the ceremonial hall opened with a soft hum, revealing a chamber that stretched as far as his eyes could see. Towers of glowing crystals rose from the floor, pulsating with alien energy. The walls shimmered as if alive, and the floor beneath him shifted slightly with each step, creating a subtle sensation of walking on liquid light. At the far end of the hall, Queen Liara appeared. She moved with a grace that seemed almost unnatural, her tall frame accentuated by the flowing ceremonial robes that gleamed like starlight. Her skin had a soft, iridescent sheen, and her eyes, large and intelligent, seemed to pierce directly into his mind. She regarded him without a word, and yet Alex could feel her scrutiny. "Captain Carter," she said finally, her voice melodic but commanding, "welcome to the trial of endurance. Your presence is unusual but not unwelcome." Alex bowed slightly. "Your Highness," he replied. "I am honored to be here. I will do my best to respect your customs." Liara's eyes narrowed, though not in anger. "Respect is the first of many tests. Some fail because they assume this is a game of strength. Others fail because they lack understanding. You may proceed." The night begins. With that, the chamber shifted. Sections of the floor rotated, walls of light moved to form new pathways, and holographic symbols glimmered across the space. Alex felt a sudden vertigo but steadied himself. He realized immediately that the trial was as much about mental agility as physical stamina. He stepped forward cautiously. The first challenge was a series of floating puzzles, each one glowing with intricate alien symbols. They hovered in the air, rotating slowly. Alex could tell instinctively that each puzzle required more than brute force. It needed observation, logic, and creativity. He reached out to the first puzzle. The symbols twisted and reformed as if alive, responding to his touch. He studied them, noting patterns and symmetry. Hours or perhaps minutes passed. Time was difficult to measure in this hall, and slowly he solved the first puzzle. A soft chime echoed and a door of shimmering light opened ahead. Alex moved forward, keeping his focus. He could feel the weight of history pressing on him. Every human who had come before had failed. But failure wasn't an option. Not because the Zyrans demanded perfection, but because he believed humans could rise to challenges no one expected them to face. The second challenge tested his endurance. Sections of the chamber simulated changing gravity, shifting from light to heavy with little warning. Alex had to leap and crawl, keeping balance and solving small riddles that appeared on floating panels. Every muscle in his body screamed with effort, but he kept moving. He reminded himself that humans were built for resilience, adaptable in ways even highly evolved aliens were not. Halfway through, he sensed something watching him. Queen Liara had moved closer, her presence nearly intangible yet profoundly felt. Alex could feel her measuring him, not just his skill, but his character. It was subtle, a test within a test. Every decision he made, every way he carried himself was being judged. By the time he reached the third challenge, exhaustion was creeping in. The chamber now displayed a series of holographic simulations, scenes of alien battles, political intrigues, and ethical dilemmas. He was expected to react appropriately, making choices that would demonstrate wisdom and composure. Mistakes could result in humiliation or even expulsion from the trial. Alex studied each simulation carefully. He noticed patterns in Zyran culture that others overlooked. They valued fairness, intelligence, and creativity over brute strength. He used this knowledge to navigate the simulations successfully. At one point, a holographic figure tried to trick him into betraying an ally. He paused, considered his options, and chose a solution that was clever yet honorable. The system accepted it, and the simulation dissolved. Hours, or what felt like hours, passed. Alex's mind and body were taxed, but he pressed on. He reminded himself of the stakes. Failure was not just personal. It could damage the fragile relationship between humans and the Zyran Empire. Every move, every choice mattered. At one point, the floor beneath him shifted violently, forcing him to dive to avoid falling into a glowing pit. He rolled across the surface, quickly recovering. A panel lit up, presenting a complex riddle in symbols he had never seen before. His fingers hovered over the symbols, tracing patterns. Slowly, the answer became clear. He entered it, and a doorway of light opened. Queen Liara's voice echoed through the hall. "Impressive human, few have made it this far. Few have endured without losing composure." Alex gave a respectful nod. "Thank you, Your Highness. I am learning quickly. Your tests are challenging but fair." A faint smile crossed her face. "Fairness is a form of respect. Remember that. The night has only begun. Endurance is more than physical. Mental fortitude, emotional control, and respect for custom, these are what the trial demands. Many fail because they underestimate us. Some fail because they underestimate themselves." Alex took a deep breath and moved forward, feeling both tired and exhilarated. The trial was far from over. Ahead lay challenges that would push him to his limits, tests designed to break spirits and reveal weakness. But he felt a quiet confidence. Humans had survived the impossible before. Why not here? As he navigated another twisting corridor of shifting light, Alex realized something important. This trial was more than a test of strength or cleverness. It was a test of character. He could see that Queen Liara valued intelligence, courage, and adaptability over raw power. That realization gave him hope. If he could endure not just physically but mentally and morally, he might prove that humans were more than what legends suggested. By the time the first dawn of the Zyran night approached, Alex was weary but still moving forward. He had solved the initial puzzles, navigated the shifting floors, and handled the simulations with care. He could feel the eyes of the court upon him, though they were invisible subtle. The pressure was immense, but he refused to break. A soft voice whispered in his mind, Liara's telepathic presence, subtle but unmistakable. "You are different. You endure where others crumble. Do not falter now." Alex smiled faintly. "I won't," he replied silently. "I'll last till dawn." And so, as the first part of the legendary trial came to a close, Captain Alex Carter pressed onward. The night was only beginning, but already he had proven something remarkable, that human resilience, cleverness, and composure could survive even the most alien of challenges. He did not yet know what the next trials would bring, but he was ready. For the first time, a human might endure where none had succeeded before. The crystalline hall shimmered around him, alive with light and energy, reflecting both the danger ahead and the promise of triumph. Alex stepped forward, determined, aware that every step he took carried the weight of humanity's potential. Whatever awaited him, he would face it, not just as a guest, but as a symbol of human endurance, cleverness, and courage. And the Queen watched, silently, curious to see if this human could truly last until dawn. The chamber had grown darker as Alex continued deeper into the ceremonial hall. The walls pulsed with a soft light that seemed to echo his heartbeat. Every step felt heavier, yet his determination only grew. He had survived the first set of trials, proving that a human could endure where others had failed. But this was only the beginning. Ahead, the chamber opened into a vast expanse, filled with floating platforms of shimmering crystal. They hovered at different heights, shifting slowly, forcing anyone crossing to time their steps perfectly. The air hummed with energy, and Alex realized that gravity here was unpredictable. One wrong move, and he could fall into the glowing abyss below. He stepped carefully, testing the platforms with the tips of his boots. They were stable enough for a moment, but the second he placed full weight, they tilted and shifted. Alex adjusted, using every ounce of balance he had learned from years of spacewalking and zero-gravity maneuvers. He focused, ignoring the dizzying effect of the moving floor, and slowly crossed. At the far side, a panel of holographic lights rose from the floor. The lights arranged themselves into a swirling pattern of symbols and alien letters, unlike any he had seen before. This was the next challenge, a puzzle that tested memory, perception, and quick thinking. He examined it closely. The symbols rotated, changed color, and even shifted position as if alive. He tried to make sense of it. At first, the pattern was confusing, chaotic. But Alex remembered the advice he had given himself earlier. Observe, find the pattern, adapt. He began noticing symmetry in the rotations, a hidden rhythm in the colors. Slowly, he traced the sequence mentally, predicting each shift before it happened. His fingers moved swiftly, touching the symbols in order. Each correct choice caused a soft chime, encouraging him to continue. Mistakes caused the panels to reset, but Alex remained calm, refusing to panic. After several tense minutes, the final symbol clicked into place, and the entire puzzle dissolved into a wave of light. Another path opened. A soft hum alerted him to movement behind the panels. Shadows stretched along the walls, forming figures of alien warriors, holographic projections designed to test reaction time and strategy. They advanced with speed and precision, forcing Alex to dodge, jump, and roll across the floor. It was no longer a simple test of wit or balance. This was a challenge of agility and quick thinking. Alex realized that brute force was useless. The warriors were programmed to anticipate strength, not creativity. He used timing and deception, moving in unpredictable patterns, feinting left and then rolling right. With each maneuver, he gained confidence. The human body, flexible and resilient, allowed him to adapt in ways the rigid Zyran warriors could not. After he passed the combat simulation, Alex paused to catch his breath. His body was tired, but his mind remained sharp. He had learned a critical lesson. The Zyrans respected intelligence, courage, and ingenuity over sheer power. That knowledge would be his key to survival. As he advanced further, the chamber transformed again. Now the floor was covered with translucent panels, displaying holographic projections of distant worlds. Each world was accompanied by a riddle, and beneath each riddle was a sequence of glowing symbols. Alex quickly realized that the puzzles were linked. Solving one incorrectly would trigger a trap in the next. He needed to solve them all in order. He approached the first panel. The riddle was written in the Zyran language, but the symbols were logical. Alex had already picked up on patterns in the language's structure, and he translated the riddle mentally. It spoke of balance, patience, and observation. Alex smiled, appreciating the subtlety of the challenge. He selected the correct sequence of symbols, and the first panel lit up green. The next riddle was trickier. It involved alien math, geometry, and logic intertwined. Many humans would have panicked, but Alex remembered how humans thrived under pressure, finding solutions where others saw only chaos. He analyzed the problem, breaking it into smaller parts, and identified the hidden sequence. Carefully, he pressed the symbols in the correct order. The panel glowed, and a soft voice echoed. "Impressive human, few endure this far." Alex felt a rush of pride, but did not let it distract him. He knew that the trials were designed to test not just skill, but endurance. His body was becoming tired, and his mind was constantly challenged, but he pressed forward. The final puzzle in this sequence was the most complex. It required him to manipulate the holographic worlds, aligning them according to a hidden pattern. Each wrong move caused the platforms beneath him to shift dangerously. Alex had to solve the puzzle while maintaining balance and avoiding falling. Sweat dripped from his forehead, but he focused. He analyzed the worlds, tracing the flow of energy between them. Slowly, a pattern emerged. He moved the holographic planets into position, one by one, testing each adjustment before committing. Time seemed to slow. Every movement had to be precise, every choice deliberate. Finally, with the last adjustment, the planets aligned perfectly, forming a radiant pattern that pulsed with light. The floor beneath him stabilized, and a doorway opened. Through the doorway, he found a quiet chamber filled with water. But this was no ordinary water. It shimmered with bioluminescent light, and the surface rippled with strange energy. The challenge was clear: traverse the water without disturbing it. Any ripple could trigger traps or alarms. Alex crouched low, placing each step carefully. His boots barely touched the surface as he moved, using small leaps and controlled movements. He remembered how humans adapted to every environment, from deserts to zero-gravity stations. The water's strange energy was no match for his determination. Step by step, he crossed the chamber. When he reached the other side, he exhaled in relief. A voice spoke from above. "You endure well, Captain Carter. Few have the courage to continue when the night grows long. Few understand the meaning behind the trials." Alex looked up and saw Queen Liara observing him, her gaze intense but not unkind. "Your tests are challenging," he admitted, "but they are fair. I respect the effort put into them." Liara inclined her head slightly. "Respect is more than recognition. It is understanding. You show both. That is rare." The next chamber was darker, illuminated only by streaks of pale light. The walls projected illusions, images of friends, family, and allies in danger. The trial was now psychological, designed to test emotional control. Alex felt a pang of homesickness and concern, but he knew these were illusions meant to distract him. He focused, taking deep breaths, and reminded himself of the purpose of the trial. He was not here to fail, nor to be tricked. Humans could endure more than aliens often expected, using reason and courage where others relied on instinct alone. Step by step, he moved through the illusions, ignoring the emotional manipulation and focusing on the path ahead. At the center of the chamber, a final test awaited. A pedestal rose, displaying a single glowing crystal. It radiated warmth, almost like a heartbeat. A holographic message appeared. "To proceed, you must demonstrate understanding of balance, patience, and insight. The night has tested strength and agility. Now show your mind." Alex examined the crystal. It seemed to respond to thought, almost like a living entity. He realized that the trial required not brute force, but observation and adaptation. He studied the crystal's patterns, noticing subtle shifts in light and energy. Slowly, he adjusted his focus, matching the crystal's rhythm. The crystal pulsed brighter, then split into multiple beams of light, illuminating the path forward. Through the beams, he saw the final chamber of the night. Exhausted but not defeated, Alex stepped forward. Every step reinforced a single truth. Humans endured, humans adapted, and humans could thrive where others expected failure. The trials were not just tests. They were a stage for proving capability, courage, and ingenuity. As he reached the threshold of the final chamber for this part of the night, he sensed Queen Liara's presence close by. She did not speak, but her approval was evident in the subtle shimmer of the light around her. Alex allowed himself a small smile. He had survived the trials so far. The legends of failure would not claim him, not yet. And so, as the night deepened, Captain Alex Carter continued his journey through the legendary trial. Each step brought new challenges. Each moment tested his strength, mind, and spirit. The human who was not expected to endure was proving otherwise, and the night had only begun. The stars outside the crystalline walls shimmered like silent witnesses, and Alex knew one thing clearly. Humans were not just survivors. They were extraordinary, capable of triumph even in the most alien of worlds. With steady breath, determined mind, and unwavering courage, he stepped into the next challenge, ready to endure whatever the Queen and her empire could throw at him. The chamber ahead was darker than any Alex had encountered so far. The walls were made of black crystal that seemed to absorb light, and the air was thick with a strange, humming energy. Even the floor beneath him vibrated slightly, as if the entire room were alive. This trial was unlike the others. It was not just about wit or endurance. It was about perception, courage, and the ability to adapt to situations that could overwhelm the mind. Alex stepped cautiously. Every movement was deliberate, measured, aware of the dangers that could strike at any moment. He had already survived puzzles, shifting floors, holographic warriors, and psychological illusions. He knew that each challenge was designed not only to test him, but also to show the Zyrans what humans were capable of. This night was not merely ceremonial, it was a stage. As he moved deeper into the room, glowing symbols appeared in midair. They swirled and twisted, forming a complex pattern that seemed impossible to decipher. Alex recognized the design immediately. It was a memory test, but unlike any memory test he had faced. The symbols would rearrange themselves if touched incorrectly, and the wrong combination could trigger traps throughout the chamber. Alex inhaled deeply. Humans had always excelled at adapting to unpredictable environments, using reasoning where others relied on instinct. He studied the symbols carefully, noticing subtle repetitions and patterns. Slowly, he traced a path through the sequence in his mind before touching a single symbol. His hand hovered over the first one, then pressed. A soft chime sounded. Encouraged, he continued, following the path he had mapped. Mistakes caused the symbols to reset, but Alex remained calm. He knew that panic would only make failure more likely. Step by step, he completed the sequence, and the symbols dissolved into sparkling motes of light. The chamber shifted. Platforms rose from the floor, forming a winding path over a chasm of glowing energy. Some platforms moved rapidly, others rotated unpredictably. Alex had to time every step perfectly. One wrong move could send him plummeting into the abyss. He balanced carefully, using his instincts and agility. Years of zero-gravity training and combat experience helped him. When a platform tilted dangerously, he adjusted, leaning his body and counterbalancing with precise movements. The room tested not just physical strength, but spatial awareness and patience. Halfway across, the air shimmered, and holographic warriors appeared again. This time, they moved faster, attacking in coordinated patterns that mirrored real combat strategies. Alex dodged, leapt, and rolled, using the platforms to his advantage. He realized quickly that rushing would be fatal. Humans were clever because they could think outside the box. Instead of attacking or defending in the expected way, he used misdirection, jumping at angles that the warriors did not anticipate, creating openings to advance. Once he reached the far side, he found a small chamber with a shallow pool of luminescent water. The surface was perfectly still, but Alex knew the challenge was hidden. The water's glow shifted subtly, revealing pressure-sensitive zones. One step in the wrong place could activate traps. He crouched low and placed his feet carefully, moving inch by inch. Each step required focus and balance. His heart pounded, but he pressed on, knowing that patience was as valuable as speed. Across the pool, a pedestal rose, displaying an orb of glowing energy. The orb pulsed as if alive, casting soft light on the walls. A voice echoed in the chamber, melodic and commanding. "Captain Carter, you have demonstrated strength, intellect, and endurance, but the greatest test of the night is yet to come. The trial now demands insight, courage, and understanding of the unseen." Alex studied the orb. Its glow seemed to respond to thought. He realized that this challenge was not physical but mental, a test of perception, intuition, and the ability to remain composed under pressure. The orb began to project visions into the chamber. Images of alien fleets, political intrigues, and personal choices surrounded him. Some images were disturbing, depicting failure or betrayal. Alex understood immediately. The test was designed to provoke fear, doubt, and uncertainty. Many would falter here, overcome by the pressure and the illusion of danger. He reminded himself that these were projections, not reality. Humans excelled at navigating uncertainty, at thinking through problems under stress. He focused on the principles he had learned about Zyran culture, logic, fairness, and observation. He analyzed each vision, separating fact from illusion. Slowly, he began to move through the chamber, interacting with the projections in a way that resolved conflicts and revealed hidden truths. Each success caused the orb to pulse brighter, and the projections receded slightly. Alex realized that the trial was adaptive. It changed according to his actions, constantly testing his judgment and flexibility. He continued, refusing to rush, relying on careful thought and observation. Hours seemed to pass, though he could not tell for sure. Fatigue weighed on him, but he remained focused. Every step forward was a triumph of human resilience. By now, he had begun to feel a subtle connection with Queen Liara. Though she did not intervene directly, her presence was felt, almost like a silent acknowledgement of his progress. The Queen's tests were meant to challenge, not destroy, and Alex sensed that she respected intelligence and composure above all else. At last, he reached the center of the chamber. The orb now hovered directly above a glowing platform. The final instruction appeared. To proceed, demonstrate the human trait that surpasses all strength, the ability to endure, adapt, and understand. Use your insight to align the energies of the orb with the path forward. Alex examined the orb. Its pulsing light seemed chaotic at first, but he noted subtle patterns in rhythm and color. Using reasoning and observation, he adjusted his actions, matching the orb's rhythm and energy flow. Slowly, the chaotic light formed coherent beams, aligning with the pathways leading deeper into the chamber. The orb's light expanded, illuminating a doorway framed by crystalline structures. A wave of relief and triumph washed over him. He had endured another trial, one that would have broken many, yet he had adapted, observed, and persevered. Humans were not the strongest, but they were clever, resilient, and courageous, a combination that could triumph even in the most alien of worlds. As he stepped through the doorway, he sensed that the final trials of the night awaited. The challenges would grow even more complex, demanding not just endurance or intelligence, but the full integration of mind, body, and spirit. Yet Alex felt ready. Humans had always thrived in adversity, and he intended to prove it to the Zyran Empire. A soft, almost imperceptible presence hovered near him. Queen Liara's voice echoed in his mind, telepathically this time. "You have endured far, human. Few could match your resolve. The night is not yet complete, but your spirit shines. Do not falter now." Alex nodded silently. "I will not," he thought. "I will endure until dawn." He entered the next chamber, a vast expanse of mirrored surfaces that reflected infinite versions of himself. The reflection was disorienting, creating the illusion of endless corridors. The challenge was clear: navigate without losing focus or becoming trapped by the mind's illusions. Many humans would have panicked, overwhelmed by the endless reflections. Alex paused, took a deep breath, and observed carefully. He realized that the mirrors were not meant to deceive entirely. They were patterns, subtle hints guiding the way. By observing the angles, the light, and the energy flow, he mapped the correct path through the maze. Step by step, he advanced, ignoring the confusing reflections and focusing on the path forward. Halfway through the mirrored chamber, the illusions shifted into scenes of fear, images of friends in danger, humans in peril, and impossible choices. The goal was psychological, to test emotional control. Alex felt a pang of concern, but he reminded himself that these were projections, meant to provoke a reaction. He focused on logic and reason, addressing each scenario with calm, decisive action. Step by step, he continued, and the projections faded. Finally, he reached the center of the mirrored chamber. A beam of light descended from the ceiling, forming a platform that would lead him further. He had passed another trial, demonstrating endurance, intelligence, and composure. Humans were capable of greatness even in alien situations, a fact that the Zyrans could not ignore. And somewhere nearby, Queen Liara observed silently. The human had survived challenges designed to break the strongest, cleverest, and most enduring of beings. Yet he had adapted, persevered, and proved the essence of human resilience. As Alex stepped onto the platform, he prepared himself for what would come next. The night was not over. The greatest challenges still lay ahead, but he knew one thing with certainty: humans could endure, adapt, and triumph even where others expected failure. The chamber around him shimmered with energy, and the path forward opened, ready to test him in ways he could not yet imagine. Alex walked forward, determined, courageous, and unbroken. The platform beneath Alex's feet glowed softly, carrying him forward into a chamber unlike any he had encountered so far. The walls were no longer crystalline. They were a deep, shifting black, like liquid night. Mist hovered along the floor, curling around his boots. The air smelled faintly of ozone and energy, making every breath feel charged and alive. Alex could sense the final trials of the night approaching. The challenges here were no longer puzzles or illusions. They were tests of endurance, intuition, and courage, designed to separate the extraordinary from the ordinary. Ahead, a series of pillars emerged from the mist. Each pillar radiated energy in a different color, pulsating with a rhythm that seemed almost musical. Between the pillars floated platforms of light, shifting unpredictably. Alex realized immediately he had to navigate these platforms while interacting with the pillars in the correct sequence. One mistake could plunge him into the mist below, a deep abyss he could not see. He focused, observing the rhythm of the pillars, noting the subtle variations in color and vibration. Humans had always been masters of observation and adaptation, using pattern recognition and intuition to survive in unfamiliar environments. Alex calculated his path carefully, moving from platform to platform with precise timing. He leapt over gaps, rolled under sudden energy arcs, and adjusted to the subtle shifts in gravity. Step by step, he advanced, muscles straining, mind alert. As he reached the midpoint, the chamber shifted again. The pillars began to emit beams of light that formed complex patterns in the air, creating a three-dimensional maze. Alex had to move not only across platforms, but also through the beams without breaking their sequence. The beams responded to his movements, and one wrong step could reset the entire maze. Alex's pulse quickened. He studied the beams, mapping a path mentally before moving. His agility and reflexes were tested to the limit, but he remained calm, relying on observation and logic rather than brute force. He adjusted mid-leap, twisted in the air to avoid a beam, and landed safely on the next platform. The maze was relentless, but so was he. Halfway through, a sudden ripple of energy swept the chamber. Holographic images of alien warriors materialized within the beams, attacking in coordinated patterns. Alex had to think quickly. Instead of confronting them head-on, he used the beams themselves to block attacks, moving with precision through gaps the warriors could not reach. His human ingenuity turned a deadly obstacle into an advantage. Finally, he reached the last pillar. It glowed brighter than the others, radiating a soft golden light. The platform beneath it stabilized, and a voice echoed through the chamber. "Captain Carter, you have demonstrated strength, agility, and intelligence, but the night now demands endurance beyond the physical. The final trial approaches. Will you continue?" Alex paused, catching his breath. His body was tired, but his resolve was stronger than ever. "I will continue," he replied aloud. Humans had always faced impossible odds and emerged stronger. He would not falter now. The chamber transformed again, mist thickened, and the temperature dropped. The air felt heavier, each breath a small effort. Alex realized this was a test of willpower. He had to move through the mist, guided only by intuition and perception, toward a distant light that seemed to shimmer just beyond reach. Every step felt like walking through molasses. The mist played tricks on his senses, making the light appear closer or farther away, shifting his perception. He relied on human endurance, pressing forward despite the fatigue, focusing on small details. A shadow in the mist, a glimmer of light, a subtle change in temperature. Step by step, he closed the distance, ignoring the disorienting effects of the environment. Suddenly, the mist parted, revealing a chamber filled with water that glowed with bioluminescent light. The surface rippled violently, as if alive. Alex understood immediately. The final trial required balance, precision, and courage. The floor beneath the water was uneven, and the energy in the liquid responded to movement. He had to cross without disturbing it too much. Alex crouched low, moving cautiously. He placed each foot carefully, testing stability before committing his weight. Every step required focus. A ripple could trigger traps, but he adapted to the water's energy, moving with patience and awareness. Inch by inch, he advanced, muscles trembling but steady. Halfway across, the water surged, forcing him to leap onto a floating platform. The energy pulsed beneath him, threatening to unbalance him, but Alex adjusted instantly, using quick reflexes and intuition to stabilize. He realized that humans had an advantage: adaptability. Where other species relied on rigid rules or physical strength, humans could improvise, adjusting to unpredictable environments. Once he reached the other side, a pedestal rose from the water, holding a crystal orb that pulsed with radiant light. A voice echoed softly, almost like a whisper in his mind. "This is the final test, human. The night has challenged body, mind, and spirit. Now demonstrate insight, courage, and the ability to endure beyond the ordinary." Alex studied the orb. Its light shifted constantly, forming complex patterns that seemed impossible to follow. He realized that brute force would not work. He had to understand the rhythm, anticipate the changes, and align his actions with the energy flow. Humans had always succeeded by observing patterns and adapting quickly. Slowly, he extended his hands toward the orb, letting his intuition guide him. The orb pulsed brighter, reacting to his actions. Its chaotic energy began to form coherent beams, illuminating a pathway forward. Alex stepped carefully, aligning his movements with the rhythm of the light. Each step required precision, each adjustment required awareness. Sweat dripped from his brow, but he remained focused, determined to endure. As he approached the end of the chamber, a final projection appeared. It was Queen Liara standing tall and radiant. Her eyes held curiosity, admiration, and a faint challenge. The projection spoke. "Few have reached this point, Captain Carter. You have endured challenges that would break even the strongest of warriors. The night now demands one final demonstration, the integration of mind, body, and spirit. Will you succeed?" Alex took a deep breath, recalling everything he had faced. The puzzles, the shifting floors, the combat simulations, the psychological trials, the water, the mist. Each challenge had tested a different aspect of endurance, and he had adapted, survived, and learned. He knew that humans had a unique strength, the ability to integrate experience, reason, and courage to overcome the impossible. He focused on the orb, aligning his movements perfectly with the pulsing light. He anticipated shifts, adjusted instantly, and responded to energy changes with precision. The orb's light expanded, forming a radiant pathway that led to the center of the chamber. As he stepped onto the pathway, he felt a surge of triumph. He had endured where others had failed. He had proven that humans could adapt to the most alien and challenging situations, relying on intelligence, courage, and resilience rather than brute strength alone. The chamber brightened, revealing the final stage. The mist cleared, the water calmed, and the pillars of light settled into a harmonious pattern. Alex stood at the center, exhausted but victorious. Queen Liara's projection faded, replaced by her presence in the room. She approached, her eyes studying him carefully. "You have surpassed expectations, Captain Carter," she said. "Few humans or even Xyrans could endure so completely. You have demonstrated courage, intelligence, adaptability, and endurance. You are remarkable." Alex bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Your Highness. I only did what humans have always done, adapt, endure, and strive to overcome challenges." Liara smiled faintly. "You have done more than survive. You have shown that humans are capable of greatness. This night was meant to test and break the unprepared. You have endured until the dawn. Few have achieved what you have." Alex felt a quiet pride. The night had been long, exhausting, and challenging beyond imagination, but he had endured. Humans were not weak. They were resilient, clever, and capable of thriving where others might fail. The Queen gestured to the chamber around them. "Let this be known. Humans may not be the strongest, but they possess a spirit and adaptability that commands respect. You have proven that tonight, Captain Carter." Alex nodded, feeling the weight of his accomplishment. He had faced the legendary trials, survived the impossible, and demonstrated what humanity could achieve. The night was ending, but the story of his endurance would resonate far beyond the walls of this chamber. As the first light of dawn broke across the Xyran capital, Alex stood tall, exhausted, but unbroken. The night had been meant to test and intimidate, yet he had prevailed. Humans had endured, and in doing so, had earned the respect of a queen and her empire. For the first time, Alex felt that the legends of human weakness were truly challenged. He had lasted where none before him had, proving that courage, intelligence, and adaptability could triumph against any odds. The queen watched him, her eyes reflecting both admiration and curiosity. Alex knew that this night had changed everything, not just for him, but for humanity. The light of dawn began to seep through the crystalline walls of the chamber. After hours of trials, Captain Alex Carter stood at the center of the final platform, his chest heaving from exertion, sweat dripping from his brow, and yet his eyes shone with a calm determination. The trials had tested every aspect of his being, mind, body, and spirit, and he had endured them all. No human before him had ever lasted this long, and even the Xyrans had begun to whisper in awe at the unexpected endurance of a single human. Queen Liara approached, her presence commanding yet not intimidating. Her eyes, large and luminous, reflected a mixture of curiosity, admiration, and satisfaction. "Captain Carter," she said, her voice echoing gently through the chamber, "you have endured where no human, or perhaps any being, has succeeded. You have shown strength, courage, intelligence, and above all, adaptability. You have not only survived, but you have flourished under impossible conditions." Alex straightened, bowing respectfully. "Thank you, Your Highness. I only did what humans have always done, faced the unknown, adapted, and endured." Liara studied him for a moment, then nodded. "It is more than endurance, human. It is the heart of your species, the will to continue, to persevere, and to rise when others would fail. Tonight, you have proven that humans are not to be underestimated." A soft murmur filled the chamber as the Xyran Council observed the proceedings. Some of the council members had sought to embarrass or fail Alex, expecting a quick humiliation. Instead, they had witnessed something extraordinary, a human who had navigated every trap, solved every puzzle, and endured every psychological challenge with patience, intelligence, and courage. The legend of the alien wedding night was meant to break men, yet here stood Alex unbroken. The queen gestured to the chamber around them. Platforms shifted gently, revealing the entirety of the trial's hallways and chambers. The challenges that had tested him now appeared in their full scale, and it was clear to all present that Alex's achievements were unprecedented. He had crossed shifting floors, balanced across unstable platforms, solved alien puzzles, endured illusions meant to shake the mind, and navigated deadly simulations of combat and environmental hazards. Every trial had been met with calm reasoning, observation, and adaptability. Liara's gaze softened slightly. You have also done something more. You have shown respect for our culture, for our customs, and for the intentions behind the trials. Many would have tried to cheat or bypass the tests, seeking only to survive. You sought understanding. That is why you have endured where others fail. Alex took a deep breath. I respect the Zyran people and their ways. I have learned much tonight, and I hope my actions demonstrate the respect humans hold for your species. A ripple of murmurs ran through the council. Some of the older Zyrans, who had long dismissed humans as weak or unpredictable, began nodding in acknowledgement. One by one, whispers of admiration and respect spread. Humans, they realized, were capable of much more than legends suggested. Liara stepped closer, her hand hovering near the glowing orb that had been the final trial. This night was meant to test endurance, she said, but you have shown us more than endurance. You have shown ingenuity, courage, and an indomitable spirit. These are qualities that bind our peoples as allies, not merely as strangers across the stars. Alex felt a swell of pride, but also humility. He had faced incredible challenges, yet he knew that he had succeeded not only because of human resilience, but also because he had approached every trial with careful observation, patience, and respect. Humans had survived impossible odds for generations, and tonight he had continued that legacy. A soft vibration ran through the chamber, and the crystal orb levitated higher, radiating a brilliant light. As the first human to endure the wedding night, Liara continued, you are now a symbol not only of personal achievement but of the potential of your species. Let this be remembered. Humanity is resilient, adaptable, and capable of triumph even in the most alien and challenging environments. Alex stepped forward, allowing the light of the orb to illuminate him fully. He had faced fear, uncertainty, and exhaustion, yet he stood tall. The exhaustion he felt was matched by exhilaration. He had survived the night. He had proven what humans could do when pushed to the limit. The queen extended her hand in a gesture of respect, a rare honor in Zyran culture. Captain Carter, by enduring these trials, you have earned my respect and the recognition of my council. Humans will no longer be underestimated. Alex took her hand, bowing respectfully. I am honored, Your Highness. And I hope that tonight marks the beginning of greater understanding between our peoples. Liara's eyes glimmered with satisfaction. It does indeed. Let this night serve as a reminder. Strength is not only in muscle or might, but in intelligence, courage, and the willingness to endure. The council members began to applaud, their alien voices resonating through the chamber. Some were still astonished, unable to believe that a human could have endured so many trials. Others smiled knowingly, recognizing that humans had qualities that even the most advanced alien civilizations could not fully anticipate. Alex looked around at the chamber, remembering each trial, the puzzles that challenged his mind, the shifting platforms that tested his balance, the illusions that sought to unsettle his emotions, and the final orb that demanded insight and intuition. Each had been difficult, but together they had created a night that would be remembered for generations. He felt a quiet satisfaction, not just for surviving, but for proving humanity's worth. Liara's voice softened, almost contemplative. Captain Carter, tonight has shown me that humans are not only survivors, but capable of extraordinary achievement. You have endured when others would have faltered, and for that, you have my respect. Alex nodded. Thank you, Your Highness. Humans have always faced the impossible and found ways to rise. Tonight was no different. The Queen's eyes held a faint sparkle of amusement. Indeed, it is rare to find a human who combines courage, intelligence, and humility. You have reminded us that the universe is full of surprises. Not all strength is physical, and not all victory comes through dominance. Alex smiled. He realized that the trials were more than a test. They were a lesson for both species. Humans had proven their resilience, but the Zyrans had also learned that their assumptions about strength and capability were not absolute. Mutual respect had been forged in the crucible of the night. The final moments of the ceremony were quiet, filled with reflection rather than spectacle. The platform stabilized, the mist dissipated, and the chamber glowed softly in the early light of Zyran dawn. Alex felt the weight of exhaustion, but also the exhilaration of accomplishment. He had endured until dawn, and in doing so, he had earned the admiration of an alien queen and her council. Liara stepped closer, her presence calm yet powerful. Captain Carter, let this night be remembered not only as a test, but as a beginning. Humanity has proven itself, and the bonds between our peoples may now grow stronger. Your endurance and wisdom have paved the way for understanding, respect, and cooperation. Alex bowed once more. It has been an honor, Your Highness. I hope that our peoples will continue to learn from one another, building a future that values courage, intelligence, and resilience. A smile touched Liara's lips. It will be so, Captain. Tonight you have become more than a guest. You have become a symbol of what humans can achieve. Few have the courage to endure such trials, and fewer still would do so with the wisdom and respect you have shown. The council murmured their agreement. Alex had surpassed every expectation, and the legend of the alien wedding night had been rewritten. Humans were no longer seen as fragile or limited. They were resilient, adaptable, and capable of extraordinary feats when faced with the unknown. As the chamber doors opened to the soft light of the Zyran city beyond, Alex felt a quiet pride. He had faced the impossible, endured the night, and emerged victorious. The stars stretched endlessly above, but he knew that humanity's place among them had been strengthened. They were not merely survivors. They were capable, clever, and resilient, ready to meet the challenges of the universe with courage and determination. Queen Liara's gaze met his one last time. There was acknowledgement, respect, and a promise in her eyes. A promise that the story of this night and the human who had endured it would be remembered throughout the Zyran Empire and beyond. Alex took a deep breath, letting the cool morning air fill his lungs. The trials were over, the night conquered, and humanity's spirit had been proven. He had endured until dawn, and in doing so, had changed perceptions, built respect, and forged a bond that would echo across the stars. The legend of the night that was meant to shatter men now belonged to him, and to humanity. And as he walked forward into the new day, Alex Carter felt the quiet satisfaction of one who had endured, triumphed, and reminded the universe that humans were not to be underestimated.